Clarity on Fire, a podcast for people who know what they don't want out of their life and career, but aren't sure what they'd rather be doing.
In a world where it's easy to exist, but hard to feel alive, we, Kristen
and Rachel,
2 certified life and career coaches, are here to help you cut through the information overload, get unstuck, and focus not just on how you can have a career you're passionate about, but how to create a whole life that feels fulfilling.
So join us here, where we serve up inspiration and down-to-earth wisdom in a way that only 2 best friends can.
We want you to experience the relief of knowing that, yes, you're allowed to want more out of your life and career.
And no, you don't have to wander through the dark anymore. Our job is to light the fire that shows you the way. Let's go. All right. I think you're getting into a topic today that gives me pleasure because you know that one of the things I like most is making sure that people pleasers stop that. Stop that right now. Put it down. Walk away from the pleasing people.
This is one of the things that is quintessential to people pleasers. It's what makes them who they are. Mm-hmm. And it is this fear, this deep, deep-seated fear of seeming selfish.
Selfish.
And it makes sense. I get into why so many of us are terrified of feeling selfish, but the alternative is just as bad, if you ask me.
I sort of wonder if there's something wrong with me for not having this fear at all. Like, am I a complete narcissist? I just don't, this is not one of my fears.
No, I just think you came in programmed to not have to overcome this. Like, yeah, it's just one more thing you don't have to deal with and undo.
Totally.
You've got other stuff you need to undo.
I just respect myself as much, if not more, than I respect most everybody else. So that means I'm not going to give of my time if I don't really feel like it. I'm not going to do something unless it's like a win-win. And I think a lot of people who think they're selfish are just giving and giving and giving to other people, and they're not respecting themselves. And there's nothing I like less than people who don't respect themselves.
Right. And it's hard because it doesn't feel like you're not respecting yourself in the moment, but that's what the end result becomes. Oh. You end up putting yourself
last. It looks like it to me from the outside. But is it not? Okay, I'll believe you. If it doesn't feel like that from the inside, it probably feels like I'm being a good person.
Right, exactly.
And I'm being a bad person if I think of myself.
That's a whole point that I make in the blog.
I'm sorry, my hair is about to be on fire right now. This makes me so mad.
And when I was writing about this, I had so many people in mind that I know personally, that I have worked with, a previous version of myself. So it felt like if I could think of that many examples, I really just give one example, but she's representative of a lot of people who I've talked to. And I figured if it was that prevalent, a lot of you probably need to hear this message too. So that's what we're talking about today.
All right,
selfishness.
Let's embrace
getting over it.
Let's embrace our most selfish selves, is what I say. All right.
I would say maybe balanced. That's what we're going
for. No, let's just be selfish. If you're the kind of person who thinks being selfless is like the pinnacle of life, you need to be selfish, because then you will be balanced out. Do you know what I'm saying?
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. All right. We'll see how we feel after we listen to the actual episode. So we'll be back at the end.
Why selflessness doesn't make you a good person. A client of mine, Molly, is burnt out. She's got 2 jobs that have her working at least 50 hours a week, usually more like 60 to 65, including night and weekend shifts. Sometimes, after working 6 days in a row, her boss will ask if she can fill in for someone on the 7th day, and she usually agrees, even though it means she doesn't get a single day off in a week. She's also involved in multiple social groups, and she gets roped into helping plan and coordinate events, even when she can't make it to the event, because, of course, she's working so much. I pointed out that this is not a sustainable pace, and she fully acknowledges that. She's constantly sleep-deprived, and her naturally sunny personality is slowly being replaced by a grumpy, snippy, unmotivated person who she barely recognizes. Molly knows that something's got to give, but whenever she considers backing out of a commitment or saying no or taking something off her very full plate, she becomes consumed by guilt. Recently, she told me, I really wanted to tell my boss I couldn't take on another shift this week, but I knew they didn't have anyone else they could turn to, and it felt selfish to say no when I didn't have any other plans that day. We dug more into what selfishness is really all about, and she, like most of us, has a warped view of what it means to be selfish. I told her, "You're so afraid of being selfish that you've gone to the other extreme and become a martyr. But those aren't your two only choices, you know." We're all afraid of our inner toddler. When I asked Molly to describe what she thought of when she imagined a selfish person, here's what she said. "You know how toddlers can't help but be completely self-absorbed? All they can think about is what they want and need, and they're totally oblivious to other people's needs. That's what selfishness makes me think of." It's true. Toddlers are the embodiment of pure ego. Their little brains aren't developed enough to think, I wonder if my mom is tired and could use a break right now. I think I'll refrain from throwing this tantrum to make her day a little easier. They want what they want, and they want it now, regardless of who it might inconvenience. This image was solidified for Molly through the messages she got as a kid about how bad it was to be selfish. She got scolded by her parents and teachers and Sunday school teachers for being selfish and praised for being selfless. So she learned to fear any part of her that even vaguely resembled that ego-driven toddler. She couldn't bring herself to ask for time off or say no to a request or state her preference in fear of seeming selfish. Molly's experience is not unique. Most of us internalized the same beliefs about selfishness when we were growing up. Essentially, selfishness equals you're a bad person, and selflessness equals you're a good person. So naturally, she wanted to avoid feeling like a bad person as much as possible, and instead defaulted to setting her own needs aside in favor of everyone else's. The problem is, martyrdom is no better than selfishness. Extreme fear of selfishness usually tends to send people in the complete opposite side of the spectrum, martyrdom. In the same way our society has condemned selfishness, it's also lauded martyrs. Martyrdom has become a virtue in our culture, so we all feel like we should strive to be just a little more selfless to make sure we're a good person. How many of you watch The Good Place? In season 1, when Eleanor is meeting other people in quote-unquote the good place, she hears all about what they did in their lives to get sent to the good place. They all tell stories of sacrifice, selflessness, and service to others, no matter the cost to themselves. It's a perfect example of how we all assume that martyrs, the people who give all their time, money, energy, and sometimes very lives in service to others, are the ones who count as good people. Side note, one of the reasons I love The Good Place so much is that it has a major twist that throws this whole theory into question. But I digress. So anything less than martyrdom clearly makes you a bad person, deserving of the bad place, or at least not a particularly good person, right? Except we're all missing one big fault with martyrs. Totally selfless people are actually awful to themselves. If you're loving to everyone else, but not to yourself, are you truly a loving person? If you're generous to everyone else, but stingy with yourself, can you really be considered generous? If you're thoughtful of everyone else's needs, but neglectful of your own, are you actually thoughtful? I'd argue no. What martyrs get wrong is that being a good person doesn't just apply to your interactions with other people. It's equally about how you treat yourself. Which is why there's a sweet spot between selfishness and martyrdom. Imagine selfishness and martyrdom as opposite ends of a seesaw. Too much selfishness, and you become disrespectful of others. Too much martyrdom, and you become disrespectful of yourself. We need a healthy amount of both to balance out the seesaw. Molly desperately wanted to find that balance, but she'd spent so much of her life sitting on the martyr side of the seesaw that she had no idea what that balance even looked like. So I gave her 3 questions to ask herself whenever she was tempted to say yes to a request, volunteer for something, or generally fall back into her overgiving ways. 1. What would a selfish person do in this situation? 2. What would a martyr do? 3. What's a middle of the road option? Let's go with this one. For example, the next time her manager asked her to take on an extra shift at work after an already jam-packed week, she asked herself these 3 questions and came up with the following answers. 1. A selfish person would say, "Hell no! I already worked more than my fair share this week. Not only am I not taking on another shift, I'm calling out the next 2 days, and I don't care how it affects the team." 2. A martyr would respond with, "Of course, I'm happy to come in on my only day off. Is there anything else you need? I can put off sleeping and showering for another day or 2 if need be." 3. A middle-of-the-road response would be, "I'm happy to support the team when I can, but I've already worked my hours this week and need a break so I can be fully rested when I come back next week. So I'll need to say no this time." Answering those questions helped her realize that a gracious no isn't selfish at all. It's self-loving. And then she had a lot more love and energy to give back after she'd taken care of herself. I'd call that a win-win. So tell me, do you have a fear of selfishness? Do you find yourself overgiving, sometimes to your own detriment? How will you start to take care of your own needs as well as others? Leave a comment to share how this resonates with you.
All right. I believe that if you are struggling with this, no, I don't want to trigger all of you guys by being like, "Oh my God, you can't be selfish. That's stupid." No, I understand. I'm just messing with you. But if you want to work through this, and if you don't want to be the kind of person who puts yourself second, and if you want to sort of recover from people pleasing, that is a huge thing that we focus on in one-on-one coaching, both Kristen and I.
And the reason that it's so helpful to get some outside help with this is because it gets down to your very identity. I am a good person, or I am not a good person based on what I do. And that's a hard thing to get yourself out of.
Well, also, if you have a lot of people-pleasing tendencies, then you don't usually have an identity that you're really fully aware of or committed to, because your whole life has been about serving other people. So you didn't really get to decide for yourself, or even spend any time looking into, what do I care about? What do I want? What would my choices be if I didn't feel like I had to do these XYZ for other people? So really, coaching is the thing that creates space for you to figure that out, and for you to then make decisions that serve you, and then therefore serve everybody else. Because the people who actually help the most people and are the best people, I think, are those who are super confident in themselves, and then what they do in the world is a ripple effect that positively impacts everybody else.
Yes. So if that's something you want some help with, sign up to talk to us about one-on-one coaching. We're going to have a link in the episode description. You can also just go to our website under Work With Us. There's a one-on-one coaching tab, and fill out a form, and you can talk to us. No pressure. Just because you fill out a form doesn't mean you're committing to coaching. It just means you're interested enough that you really want to have a conversation about how that might look and work for you.
I don't want you to work with us if I have to pressure you into it. So when we say no pressure, I really mean it. This is just if this feels like a win-win for you and us, then it's going to be great. And if not, cool. It's not right for everybody. But if you're really thinking about it, there's no time like the present, because you're still going to be thinking about it in a month or 6 months. I've worked with enough people now. I know how this goes.
Yep.
You're going to be wishing you had done it 6 months later or earlier, right?
Oh, yeah. I hear that so many times.
So, okay. We will see you.
Be back on Friday.
Oh, yeah.
With an interview with an expert.
One of our best friends. We brought her on the podcast to talk about.
You guys are going to love her.
Navigating a toxic workplace. So there's literally not any of you who have not had an experience with this, I don't think. So be prepared for that, and also be prepared to share with people in your life who are in a toxic workplace and want to get out or want to know how the hell to manage it, because Stacey has some amazing ideas and suggestions. So we will see you on Friday.
See you then.